For today's lesson, basically, I'm going to try and break down how you can see and practically represent anything if you can break it down to its simplest component. And the simplest component for every object usually is shapes, underlying shapes. Everything you see is basically it's a combination of very simple geometrical shapes, and I'm going to prove this today, and it'll greatly help for anybody who thinks that they can't draw. Everybody can draw. It's just seeing seems to be the problem. 99% of the time, if you can see properly, if you can see simply, then you can render anything, you can draw anything. So I'm going to go through this in this lesson, and hopefully it's useful to you. So we'll start off very simply with a simple object and how seeing it wrong could cause all sorts of problems. So we'll start with this white spirits bottle. This bottle here, if you look, it's got all sorts of wee ridges, you know, you see all the wee details. That's normally what everybody sees first, and they think, I can't really draw and I'll mess that up. So this is usually what you'll see someone spending 15 minutes, you know. And you see them trying to really draw this thing, get every wee bit, all the wee details, and to be honest, that's where they've went wrong straight away. You want to actually think backwards, so you want to think, what is it that makes up this bottle? What makes up this shape of this bottle? What combination of shapes? It's usually two shapes together, it could be three shapes. Sometimes you're lucky enough, it might just be one shape, but it's one or a combination of these geometrical shapes that will make up this bottle. So what I'm going to show you is a different approach to seeing, and we'll start with a simple object like this. Let's see if I can just get. So when I look at this here, and we look up here, what three shapes automatically could make up this bottle? For me, it's easy. When I look at it and I break it down, this bottle is a combination, really. The majority of this bottle is a combination of three shapes. So, a long rectangle, a trapezium, and a rectangle on its side, smaller rectangle. Now, these three shapes here, you might know it, but they've just accurately made up 90%, 95% of your drawing. The other 5% is the detail. So you can throw all your details in, you can carve away at carve that bottle into what it needs to be. But them three shapes are of paramount importance they start off with. So as you can see, I can start then actually really examining the bottle and cutting in and adding on my details onto the foundation. The foundation is what's important, you know. So I can start by we can start curving stuff. It needs curved. all sorts of wee details can go on, but the details sit on a solid foundation. So I'm basically going to just show you how I would approach this and paint this object as well. I'll just show you here very quickly. Now, when I'm starting a painting here, what we're usually starting with is it's just a colour here, this brown colour, burnt sienna you call it. It's just for, this is a stage what you would call an underpainting stage. Now the underpainting stage is very important. It's where you just basically establish your painting, the shapes, you take your time, you get everything right. You work very thin at this stage as well. So this is burnt sienna, and again, as I was explaining, there's no rights and wrongs. There's useful tips. There's no rights or wrongs. Some people start with different colours. I prefer this. It's tried and tested. The old masters, they painted with warm colours for an underpainting. So I'll just show you how I would approach this on underpainting. So you get a bit of medium, and that could be in your wee jar lid, the medium. And we get a bit of medium here, and this is either liquid, it could be any oil at all, and this will dilute the paint. Now you have your cloth here and your brush with medium with a bit of burnt sienna, and we're ready to start. The cloth is as important as the brush here. This you could compare to charcoal or a pencil, and this is your rubber. So we're looking at the white spirits bottle here. Instead of drawing it, we're going to mass out the shapes. So we'll start from the top here. The next shape, trapezium. The next shape, we get a wee bit more oil here if you feel that you're not getting enough coverage. And this already is 90% of your bottle. The rest is up to you how far you want to take it down. So we could work this bottle up very, very, very quickly. This only takes 30 seconds to do, and it saves you having to actually sit and look at all the details first and actually spend maybe half an hour on it. These three ships have basically described the bottle. You'll see how I actually filled in the actual three ships as well. That's massing, and I'm going to show you why you would consider massing over line drawn. So if I get this example here, this is basically just a bottle, an apple, a bowl, and some grapes, just say. And if you look at it and you really analyse the drawing, it's got no width at all. It's very light, and you could actually picture someone with a pencil drawing a very, very detailed drawing, and ending up maybe committing a lot of time to it, and then discovering maybe a half an hour down the line that their bottle is in the wrong place, and they would rather place it over an inch, but they've committed now to the drawing, so they just have to keep on with their painting. So I'm going to just show you how I would approach this through massing. Again, just seeing simple shapes. Massing is filling in. You want to fill in it with paint. It gives it width. So I'm just going to just show this here very, very quickly, and we'll compare the two then. We'll compare the line drawn with the masked out version. This masked out version should take 30 seconds. So bear with me here, 2 seconds. And you can see why now we actually prime the canvas, because with priming the canvas we can easily get back to white easily, and if it wasn't primed, that drawing is sunk in and it's going nowhere, and it's a big distraction. So priming's important. Another thing I want to stress here too is don't overdo it in the medium. You know, you've just got your two tools at the minute. You've got your bit of medium here, which could be any oil. Now don't overdo it in this oil, because it'll water, it'll become very, very uncontrollable. So a wee bit of it's just enough, and that will get the paint going. That's all you're really looking for at this stage. So with our two tools, the paint and the brush, we're going to go into the actually painting this still life and massing it out instead. So if I look at my other image here, and instead I'm going to mass it. And the filling in is very important here, because if you fill it in, then it adds width to the actual image. And plus, when you fill it in, you can start rubbing out lights and even adding in some shadows as well, which are very, very easily done. And you can see these grips, that I'm not seeing them individually. I'm almost seeing them as a triangle, the triangle that they are. So and see the lights coming from here. And you can see already, if you compare the two, that especially if we get a big brush and start toning the canvas out here, that one seems to have a lot of atmosphere, and its actual solidity. Solidity is more important of a word. It actually seems solid. So when I look at that apple, now I know if the apple's too small, because I filled it in. I can see it, so I can, you know, like I always say to people, it's so great because you're not committed to a line drawing. You can change stuff in an instant. So look, Now that apple has become a pear. And maybe the direction of the light has changed. So you can make all sorts of changes here very easily to your drawing, and you're never committing. The bottle, you could turn on the white spirits bottle. You basically get my meaning, that it's so you just can play about with it very thinly, and the key thing all the time is just being able to see these things as shapes first. So just before we um, just before I stop here, I'm going to just show you a really simple way that some of these landscapes that might seem a bit complicated, if you see them simply, then then it's a lot easier. So we'll go to this for example for a minute here.